So I could just tell you I made this Shree planet a spooky swamp and call it a day, but I promise I actually did put more thought into it than that. That said, I won't tell you the name of this planet quite yet, and we'll simply call this the Phantom Swamp. Hold tight because it's time for another Shree lore dump. This may come as a bit of a surprise to some of you, but the Shree are actually a deeply religious people. The religion itself is ancient, but in its current form, it is a tool used by the government to keep the populace in line. I say current form because while all of this is vague, we do know that their current government came to power in a coup, and the priests lost a lot of political influence, and the Shree religion and history were partly rewritten. In my own half-headcanon personal interpretation, I suspect that the current regime would have been happy to remove or replace the religion entirely, were it not so deep-rooted within their culture, as, aside from rivalries with religious leaders, the superstitions of the Shree act to hold their path of conquest in check. Where a disadvantaged Mandalorian or Yavithan may eagerly fight to the death, and a disadvantaged Hutt or Nymodian may prefer to enter negotiations, a disadvantaged Shree would prefer to flee. This is not cowardice per se, as the fear is less for their lives but for their souls. You see, in the Shree faith, a warrior who dies on unconsecrated ground will not have their soul taken to the heavenly fourth egg, but will instead be damned to wander the universe alone. This is why, though the Shree do have a red-scaled warrior caste, they prefer to fight primarily using soulless droids or slaves, except on planets that have been consecrated by their priests. Now, back to the Phantom Swamp. While making this map, I was inspired to have the waters swirl and churn, causing mysterious shapes to form in the water's surface. According to the Shree colonists, these murky depths were rumored to offer glimpses of lost souls wandering the universe. Superstitious as they were, few were willing to move to these colonies, leaving the Phantom Swamp a ripe, consecrated world relatively empty despite not being too far from Luek itself. Frustrated but pragmatic, the Shree Imperium eventually found a new use for the planet and turned the Phantom Swamp into a training ground for the red-scaled warriors, and their enigmatic black-scaled assassins. In terms of gameplay, this makes the planet an ideal option as the Imperium's Officer Academy planet, or perhaps something else dealing with infantry. When I proposed this idea to Corey, I had intended for the Phantom Swamp to be Wurrif. He approved the idea, but did make a request: switch Wurrif with Daki. Daki, as you'll remember, is the troop transport, and Wurrif is a light cruiser. If there were a Karita-class ship, you would expect it to be a troop transport, not a light cruiser. I had no real issue with this, so the change was made. Thus, Wurrif is now Planet Mountain Dew, and Daki is now the Phantom Swamp. The Shree will not be playable for a good while, and the role in GCs is now pretty minimal, but it is nonetheless fun to plan out this early groundwork. If it interests you, I am currently streaming a playthrough of Star Fox Adventures on this channel in preparation for beginning work on the Shree capital, Luek. Thanks for watching.